ho anase edin ene wo nanso so eni ho ehye nipa da sani ebetu akowiem ene onyankropon akotena democracy eyema bibifo anase enyema yen kwasi broni tim popa ene senti a wode vaccination eba abibiman mu na family plan so mpo no ehye ben ana kwasi broni hye ye ewo krom enti a wode etoa yen eba ne sen ana gay ati atese ewo wiase afana nyinara ene we se illuminati ene we se freemason ene we se sumwe mu ni nyinara ahyase firi hen no broni tim po a wode sanyema we nyinara eba no de atoa abibiman mu ene sen we entram se hwe wake up Africa kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu ekopem awia no mienu live on Royal TV eye dwumadi a ofa poku danko ye executive director edema freedom mind movement ene ofa Israel Nkroma a eye coordinator edema freedom mind movement no
ebeka me kofi kumi ho
na yesim konya na madi dwumadi ye wo chiame na ensem bia tise no ye gina twe kronkron so abakosem ene ntwere ahodo so na ede mo hunu ba bia obibini ufiri ene mu a eduro ene soma wo sombo na mabrofo sisi ache ebra so se call together twe kaye no etumi bam ne no ana hyase o freedom mind movement dwumadi e say wake up Africa dwumadi so praso say ye fa dwumadi live on Royal TV so kwasiada we ni kwasiada bia awia dumienu kopim no mienu na ya jo so adwenche na wasemmisa ye ano e dia ma wake up Africa abibiman moma yen sore
one business general abatown ayeniko multimedia so pay video editing photo shoot photo editing, documentary, business advert, music video, funeral program, birthday parties, onua uni haukra. Esan say Niko multimedia ebeye ningina. Nanso yenwie yo, so we your wedding papa bi. Niko multimedia si enha ho kra. O me cover ningina ma. So we are sorry, anaso say uye edwumakuo bi a o pese u streaming live o program. Aye social media handles na. Aye Twitter, Facebook and the keka ho na. The multimedia si wuni how esan so mo yeni nyina live abra program na ekoso the multimedia si omotonton gadget aye media gadget papa ebini aye audio and video equipment cameras speakers microphones mixers nyina the multimedia aye ho adwuma the multimedia ewo koforidia eho ana motare betimi afrend the multimedia ewo 0244 549107 aye the multimedia the media general our town. Thank you.
Akwano mana bia sanyo akwano mana bia sanyo akwano mana bia sanyo
Abusia sabi wani guso a wo hwe eye Royal Television Wake Up Africa dwumadie osomfo Kofi Kumi agwai kasie yi onim se premoto na awia dadeban na kese dwumadie ye de ahye wase agwa kasie metenam a ayawuntia na metenam a me ne mpanyifo mienu ana dwumadie no yetena sisi nkonwa na ye de asomo aye wo fa ya opoku dankwa a woye executive director edema eku FN freedom mind movement one ne ba Israel Nkroma ono so aye national coordinator de freedom mind ko na mpanyifo yi ena prem to biabia mu e Royal Television so Wake Up Africa dwumadie yetena se de somo yetena se enen so na yede baba somo anunti abusuan fra abusuan onuan fra onuan nodofo enfrodofo be glued to the seat isan say ene beye beja sani ada empanyifo eye no na wotwe ne mpanyifo itena ase na omotena ase no ye ofa Israel ene di yen hya ase na eno ena odi yen ewura mu ema edin na ye fe no Jesus and then Africa and then the Ghana mantra manso and yasem kuma sa din ya beye din a adi hini na atu atese na baby a obewura bia no sa din we enya agudie so obodin we a na kire se ewiase se eno na abema omunkwa eno nti Ghana ene ne Africa mountain so de edin we eye din a yese e man kwaje edin we eye din a ede odie eba edin we eye edin a eno na bema wahu nyame so opese okọ nyame nchen na eno nso so ana yese ede heaven nso so kobi aba enti saa din we ubo na wanhwe yi a utimi nya asem kase pa ene kristofo ene saa enipa yi a ekura saa din wo nyine din omde atom ho so ye kristofo a Ghana ha anya asem kuma empanyifo atitiriw pa ena saa din we ekuram na eno ena yebra panyi gye se saa din we onim se fidie we so no eye adesua kase afidie so pa eye dwuma kase we so no eye adesua kase adwumadie ena kwase da bia fidie we so no nsaka eno ntimpanyifo yi anhwehwemu a maye afa saa din ne ho Israel ade betu dwama yehu se saa edin we ye nyina ye nim se na ye wa Africa ha na saa din we na ye nim biribi a atwam no na ye nim saa din no na saa din we ye nteda na ye nim na de ban ye nim ne fare ban enti Israel de ye wura mu history abakosem a enam so a saa din we bepie ye krom ha Ghana ene Africa na no no ma yehu se na enye nipa bidin na enye tumi bidin na enye onyankropon babi edin stama sadi we bepre Africa ha no Israel ma yehu se na enye odasani onipa bi a oba awono edin enye onyankropon bi ba a osoma ne ba asase so se omedi djuma bi edin per history abakosema da sadi ne ho no na emomedin we ebepie Africa Ghana mantua baby edi kan pie ye eye Cape Coast eho ana di we di kan pie ye abakosemu na epie ye no na eye susen eye ship edin a ship no na ya de ba be fast slaves sa ship no na omode shenko asom djumadie ase edin Jesus no sa ship na e ba ya omode be shenko asom djumadie ase no sa ship no first ship na ne din no sa din na da no so enti ye na nom eti sa din no na enye ne nei se ne ye ka no te no wasori dem ene ya omde ase ya adwun na nya sa na nete nya sa na mo hu no nya sa na mo te no ya mfa mre o mo se na ye nyankopon ba bia ode na ba wi ase se o madi wom dabi ya mfa ma se na ye owura bia wa ba asase so ayawo no na ne dwumadie ne se obewaji nipa nyina dabi na nya sa akwa na nete nemo na ye nada kwanso se eye sushema o anije wom ahoto wom ye nomsa ye gye ani ehode ye owura chese ubenya ahoto ena omde be daada ye nananom ma omukọ wura mu bi a omukọ frefre omu nuanom be ka ho ma omani ba ho so no na chese ye seli wom afi Cape Coast Ghana mountain so e de omukọ eno and a coffee slave trade. Into the first ship I will pay Ghana. Haseno. A dear net that's a ship on the so. And no nam so, my fay, on the moon say, a jumadia. A ye, a more de Sikawum. Na sad din so, or mutim de yes, and who say, ah, sad way. You bet to me de a dijumaye pa a pay sika. Enti a ye, sad din ye. Ni nyina so no ye na da sika pe ade na ebeye ye afei enei ye abedu nei a yete ye no na adanya beye ye se onyankopon ba oba ya obaji ye nkwa last week Israel edomu asukọ pensampensemu yipie ye pa ma ye hu se edin Jesus no pa cho enye nipa bia enye nyame ba bia ha enti asofo Ghana ha asofo mo ya trofo mo ya dadafo say ye say ye gina so a afa de Israel da na dia ma ye hu se mo eye mu botom na ne amoye no mu na saa mu lidi yande yakọ ọhaw mu ọseye mu me gyina fidie yi so atro challenge ama osofo obi a wo Ghana ha se nea moyɛ no moto adadi na ɔhawo wo mu ane se Ghana manfo no yɛmpa desua ɛno abɛyɛ nyinasode a ama ɛno nti anka ɛnyɛ saa anka nsɔre dem hɔ na mo gyina na mo yɛ saa de no wo kasa biri nka ne ɛba mo so no na anya aba nanso ɔbɔ ade mfa mo ho nkyɛm ɛyɛ mo sɛ manya na mo de mo nkoso na ni nyina no ɛbɛba last week me rehu ye pa na me trans dua asam no ntina ma anopa mi kasa sa na awia mi kasa sa no esan sɛ madi yaboro na madi yehwamɔ ye de ani atom so ye de ho atom so sɛ mo ye yadi kanfo ɛna mo de yakɔ wura mrem ɛna na da ne atoro na mo nkoso na ɔbɔ adeɛ sɛ mo brɛbɛso ɛnum no wie ye no Israel wie ye no ofa ewura mu a ofa de ye behu eye ofa ka aman mienu ho asem eye Vatican ena America na ofa kyerem ena na ofa kyerem se prophecy a America fulfill any prophecy a Vatican fulfill no edu ba bia na sese omu ba wiase no Vatican no odo na wiase no ehye ne nsa o control na odo na ye bisa odi kan a ono no wiase no ye ne dia ene ye se oman bi sorry ya saman no Vatican ne chi ne se ne mu na oman ne tumi na ne tumi no odi ka bususam odi ye niema ene oye na no no fa kire se ansa na obenya saade no opie ba ye no Vatican ne fa no na otwi ne se ne mu no edu ba bi no na se omo pe kwan omo fa so omo control wiase anu nti ofa bia mu ma yehu se na ɛsɛ America no onya tumi veto power ɛwɔ wiase so na wa ya na mfa nti ɔmo de tokwa edi kan baaye amfa ɛnu nti ntokwa mienu ntokwa na edi hɔ biom na eba na ɔmo sɛ ɔmo yusu ano kwanyina sanyina so na ɔmo timi ba ntokwa nim na through san ntokwa nim no ɔmo timi de san hyehyɛ na ba ma wɔbɛnya tumi ɛwɔ wiase mu nyina ɛno ɛna ɔfa sɛ omu hyase a na omu tu wanamo enti ofamaye hu se na santokwa no na enye se ebia omu pe bibi ede amantokwa nyina aba form ana mpese omu mantokwa ejai tin America baaye na mom na America petumi a Vatican be fa nimu ayusu no na Vatican no obi ahu se ono de ono na oye sa niema no enti ofa se kwan a ofa so ode baaye no World War II na baaye no na nyese omo hyehyɛ omo de baaye no nyese omo de hyehyɛ bibi ama ya yese ewiase nyina mo menka bo yenye baako na yenye peace asomdwe dabi na emom na eye ade a kwan na omo pa fa so a omo betimi yenye tumi na afa ni hyehyɛ omo de mayen no ene ne hyehyɛ omo yeyen no omo timi de yafa so eno na last week ofa ebeki na ofa wie eno ka se obeto aso timi nim se watena si ene ode ebe wuram na ne de rapanyi Israel dwumadie ade ne koba bi anu nti onka ye ho fidua yi mu mo fa ncha ye minim se amanfo ye krado pa na omo hwe kwan se ne Jesus edin no ene ne ship no obeto aso next week obo ade de ye nkwache ne atinkom ne ebepie fidua yi mu a minim se sabre ne de no obedu anu nti ode ba beto amoso okay ebia na woni fie nanso dwumadi opese oka ho ane abefo tintan so koso a ohwehwe wake up Africa GH a live on sabeka na wo so watimi ahwe bi YouTube na Facebook nyina no ipa cho obetimi ahwe yen live ewo ho sanso so na matena sei SMS na WhatsApp message pacho fabre me making kind the amount number na 0206 519335 0206 519335 okay ansa na meko panyini ho no madaroma me da aseda kakra ma mentimi mfasa aseda we enni eye yewura fofovi owo keje bi ane na daroma yede aseda piesie ma no esanse onam ye momo line ne so ama yɛn 1,000 cedis ɛno nti yɛwura fofo bi wɔne wabusua ne ayɛsrɛ sɛ ɔbɔ adeɛ bɛkɔ so ayɛ wo kɛse na wapagya wo na ne pagya mu no wakɔ so akae free the mind movement sɛnea ɔyɛ ne daa no ane yɛn yɛka sɛ ɛbɛyɛ a ɔde bɛba ɔbɛma yɛn more ɛsiane sɛ yɛpɛ ne more yɛbɛgye nti ɛna yɛda wase na watumi ayɛ ne kɛse mmoroso ɛno nti ɔbɔ adeɛ nhyira wo ne wabusua nyinaa na ɔnyɛ mo kɛse maka ne saa wie no meeting ɛɛba so meeting kɛseɛ paa ɛɛba so ɛyɛ on the 9th ɛyɛ annual general meeting free the mind executive director na chief of staff the opemu nankasa ɛne yɛ meeting kɛseɛ paa ɛyɛ yɛwura ɔfaya opoku dankwa ɛne yɛ wɔ meeting kɛseɛ paa nti wɔyɛ panyin okuta position biara ɛwɔ free the mind mu dia ɛne on the 9th saa meeting no uyi hu film a enye yie ɛyɛ Ghana afana nyina ba bia wo bia no saa meeting ɛsɛ otimi be pie emu bi
9th of which?
9th of April 9th of May sorry 9th of May ɛyɛ mi sɛ 2 weeks edi anim yi on the 9th of May 2026 yɛhyia yɛn nyinaa yɛhyia wɔ Kaokudi ɛyɛ yɛ head office yɛhyia wɔ Kaokudi culture center hɔ ɛmi sɛ mu dodoɔ naa no mu nim hɔ ɛhɔ ɛna yɛhyia na yɛhyia papa na ɛyɛ mi sɛ afe na so yɛn nyinaa yɛ nim sɛ yɛdi Passover awie na yɛwura yɛ afe nim ɛno nti no ɛsɛ sɛ direction bi ɔbɔ adeɛ aba ɛsɛ sɛ ɔbɔ adeɛ sɛ ɔmfa ma yɛn na yɛn kɔ no na yɛn deɛ yɛyɛ fɛ ne sɛn asoafoɔ nti ɔkyerɛ yɛ kwan na kɛsɛ we are ready to go ɛno ɛna ɔsɛ yɛ mmra na yɛn nyina ntena se na afei directives bi a ɛwɔ bia no mmra na afei yɛn nsom waka na yɛn fa nkɔ ɛno nti obi anhyɛ ne nso ɛmfa ɛmma yɛn okay yɛbɛmɔ line no madam Roma yɛbɛmɔ line no ebi a meka sɛ na obi sɛ me so kamera kakra mpɛ sɛ me de to ma mo ampacho ane kakra bi a wo bia no ensa ane fato ma yɛ wo de to ma yɛ ya yɛbɛgye yɛgye a fidie yi so yɛba bɛda wase ɛyɛ 0245 07 01 64 0245 07 01 64 edin no ɛyɛ Joseph Kofi Adiko ɛna ɛyɛ edin no fato ma yɛn yɛbɛtena fidie yi so ada wase maka ne saa wie no afei yɛda panyin adi na ne ɛwɔ hɔ bia no na ɔde ama yɛn ɔba
Kofi
makɔ aba
meje oso
gidi sɛ ahoɔden ɛwɔ hɔ paa yɛda ɔba adeɛ ase okay ɛmi sɛ mabɔ nsɛm no nyina tofa na yɛatena si menim sɛ abusua no obi a yɛ krado mesɛe mmerɛ no a ɔmo ne mbɛnya asɛm nti wadaroma mede bibia mɛgya bibia hyɛ wo nsa mede ase
yo Kofi yɛsɛ da ase
okay
nti deɛ di kan deɛ bɛkyia ahwɛfoɔ nyinaa
afa ahwɛfoɔ agye wo so
ɛna Mama Africa na ɔtwe ɛtɔ so mmienu ni ahoɔfɛ no abɛdwa
Africa aseda na wo ne wo executive ɛyɛ
baabi ama obiara no
ɔba deɛ nhyira mo Zion ladies executive mo ayɛ ade nti ɔba deɛ ɔfa sɛ ɔkɔ so ɛde nhyira ɛde ma mo mo ayɛ ade okay
enti sɛnea woma samre no baayɛ no last week ne yɛ ankasa bebree
okay
na yɛma yɛhu sɛ nhyehyɛeɛ a United Nations no wɔn yɛ founding members no ekɔhyiaeɛ no adwindwini proposals ahodoɔ ɛbaayɛ a yɛde yɛ no yɛka sɛ mpanyimfoɔ no sɛ ɔmo da no ɛyɛ president ne prime minister wɔn na ɛhwɛ wɔn hyiahyia sɛ nti ntɔkwa kɔ awie a sɛnea ɛbɛkyɛ wiase nafa o mɛfa ha ne ayɛsɛ ne nyinaa no wɔn yɛ na hɔ no ɛna wɔn ma yɛhu sɛ the beginning of United Nations Security Council no mpanyinfoɔ mmiɛnsa na ɛyɛ Roosevelt
Churchill and Stalin. Omu ye say, omu me and Sandy, and I'm so me allies. Omu na eja ekobase edebia ba. Omu na ikura omu no. Omu ye 3 permanent members. And so omu nya mienu kan ho. And omu ye last week who say France and China. And omu beka ho. And all our being said they were going to rule for an indefinite number of time. Until the Queen be asked, woman, the Queen on the Faswa, on which me a bread. Lesser powers, I may be out to 2 years. Until last week, the video actually a Queen on Bishia, or say. Omo babe da United Nations edi. And the babe to us free hold one dia. Okay. The ever can say 26th of June 1945. And charter no omo ko dream ho last week so be kai you can say omo ko bobo ho or San Francisco no. Omo kan say obo ade dey yin free charter no preamble no. Ye hia no kra wo. Nti omo yin si nchen Michael Ba say charter no open no I say we the people of the United Nations yenia ya de DSC ehun so and am the say sasa dia na wakai Nimrod ono timi din say sinebo e ka say yen de say efese ye ni oba de tina si ba bia wo pe nto mo ya say wie ya afi wo musa ma yehun say yebenya 5 permanent members of the UN. Now, you have to treat non-permanent members in the account to 15. And a book we will be a friend Andrew Boyd, a true yeah, or can say 15 men on a powder cake. By Jehovah's Witness for a week magazine. A publisher, my you says see in it. And you are more quakushia. Now the other 2 year trim, Emma Yetia say and say, oh, United Nations no idea bandia, Edia Sumge, and Eba. Outwardly, no, Yahoo sent to come you knew their yakun, ama near mass say, any partial or monqua, until they assume ba. Outwardly, no, Sanya Kai. Now inwardly, no, Uko Chambesa. Now the HR only say, Yanya baby, the beast at the way in fee. Okay. Or better. Okay. And to me, Sam Reno, and any day, Bekako, whom baby, Bibia, Bekako Bubo. Okay. Until I first, a video for the day.
Okay. It's like I said, video a decano. I'll say, how was the United Nations formed after World War II? Pacho, I don't need video I hear here. Mama, here's a video. No.
Was the United Nations formed after WW2? Have you ever wondered how the world came together to form an organization aimed at preventing future wars? The story begins during World War II, when the Allied powers recognized the need for a stronger global body. The League of Nations had failed to maintain peace, so a new approach was necessary. In 1943, the major Allied powers, including China, Great Britain, the United States, and the Soviet Union, declared their intention to create a new organization in the Moscow Declaration. This was a significant step toward global cooperation. The following year, these nations gathered in Washington, D.C., for the Dumbarton Oaks Conference. Here, they drafted proposals outlining the structure and functions of what would become the United Nations. The plan included for main bodies: the General Assembly, which would consist of all member states, the Security Council with both permanent and rotating members, the International Court of Justice, and the Secretariat. Additionally, an Economic and Social Council was proposed to address global economic and social issues. As discussions progressed, the Yalta Conference took place in February 1945. Leaders Franklin D. Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin refined the Security Council's composition and voting procedures. They decided that the 5 permanent members, China, France, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, and the United States, would have veto power. This was designed to ensure cooperation among the most powerful nations. In April 1945, a larger conference was held in San Francisco, where representatives from 50 nations gathered. Over 2 months, they debated and negotiated the United Nations Charter. Despite the growing tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union, the charter was unanimously approved on June 25, 1945. It officially came into force on October 20, 1945, marking the founding of the United Nations. The creation of the United Nations was a direct response to the lessons learned from the League of Nations. The new organization aimed to have the authority and mechanisms needed to enforce peace and security. A key innovation was the Security Council's ability to call upon member states to provide armed forces when necessary.
Abusia ohwe Wake Up Africa Jumedi Royal Television so video no maya tiase trimupo nsusuye dientia sa World War II ene nhihye ya omode baaye no apart from the Security Council na constitution nipa 5 no ho no omunya omo a ombedi omasem abu antan ayese judicial and omusanya another system we hwe sikasem so omo no mbe sikasem security eniema council omo ye yakra no se bibi ba omo mbetimi provide etuo over sayintina America timika che Iraq say oni kwanze obeye nuclear weapon like I say omo ye nsise egu a omo wo aman a omo de omo no ometimi aye atuo aye niam bibisi a okay mufa mutuo nimra mufa mu niam mra yemfa kokon ti we oman a wonka ho a wontimi nye bi video no kire yen trimupa na kese omo pe bibi adi ti no omo ye sa de ni nyina opa yo opa daro yaba
enti United Nations yaje atum ama obi ehun se wọ́n bẹ kọ́ Security Council no so no wọ́n bẹ ọmọ veto powers na veto powers na ẹni sẹ ẹ take decision bi na sọ ọ hwẹ sẹ ẹ mmoa wo country no wo interest anase ẹ di ọhaw bi bẹ ba baabi a wo nso wo interest bi wa na ọ de veto power na council do the council so na say omo etitna na na de tie ni say 15 members na wo ho no 5 year permanent 10 na aka no so omo so wo contribution be na akwati say 15 member no say 9 people etimi ko benkro
okay
and ye ko dia na say veto bi amadia na ade atu sana omo pretty ho no
okay
enti no ya kwani akwa second video promote veto powers na omunyae no aye bia no eba beboa omodwuma ya na se ama meboa adwuma edi ama omso omunye no
okay
yankwa video
the video tosumienu afa ende ama yen se enen ye behwe no the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council and their veto powers. Sa video no monfa nguma yenhwe.
Without question.
To understand that, we need to establish the context in which the Security Council was set up, especially because it's remained largely unchanged since its first meeting. The Council is one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations, which was founded in October 1945. Created in the immediate aftermath of World War II, the UN's goal was to, as their charter puts it, quote, save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. The US, UK, and then Soviet Union, the 3 major allied powers, were victors of World War II, and they were ready to establish their status and power in the form of an elite council. Former US President Franklin Roosevelt lobbied for China's inclusion as a permanent member of the Council, and then British Prime Minister Winston Churchill did the same for France. The permanent 5 members of the Security Council were established and granted veto power, meaning their single negative vote carries the power to reject a resolution.
So you have Russia and China sort of on one side, and you have France, UK, and the United States on the other. So it's kind of the West versus the rest, and that's how it's been organized.
Some of the body's powers and responsibilities include to investigate threats to international peace, to recommend a resolution process, to impose and lift sanctions, and to even enforce military intervention. It's done all of those at various times, including military action against Gaddafi in Libya in 2011 and sanctions against Iran in response to their nuclear program in 2006. The P5 also set aside another 6, eventually becoming 10, non-permanent membership spots. Non-permanent members rotate every 2 years. For resolutions to pass, 9 out of the 15 total members on the Council have to vote in favor. So even though they don't have veto power, temporary members still have a really important job. But if even one of the P5 states vetoes a resolution, that's it. And that's happened hundreds of times since the Council was founded, often in cases where that state has been accused of advancing its own political interests in the face of global crises.
Because it's like a club, so the people who are the most powerful members in the club, they make the rules. So they're not going to change the rules in a way that it negates their own interests.
Abusia o share Wake Up Africa Jumadi Royal Television so na Victor Power no ena of ama ye chirim senia etie say 15 membership no a omo ye no and omo to aba omo pe 9 na omo ko bankrum a ayade atom na emom say 9 no omo ko bankrum omo nyina ba na say 5 bi wo ho omo mu ba ko pe ka say ni amo ye ni nyina no ye nyintom bang ya votiatia o ye den enya juma 5 no omo ya 50 o and so 5 pre ene ya mom sa 2 mi no omo do mutimi yesa etianya mo nyina say 5 of 15 no 14 kraje tom na 5 no mu ba ko ka say ni amaka ni nyina ye ne ye nyintum o ya votiatia mo ye den enya juma afase sa rete eno na aiba ne say na ye nyina ya form ku na ye nyina ye tumi baako na nso obi me ye nyina gitum kwa na obi de yama ne sa tumi no like say trimpo bi ye go over ho
yo govi enji wey o chinja ya say United Nations dia asumdue na every year na share Security Council wo mo na bambo adwuma ewiase bambo adwuma no ekura wo na say ba say asembia ba yanko transne yanka se me veto power me dia moye no ebe ha o my we nti me mpre pan ye dia to it is asa na tie dia yanhwe the third video no since 1945 5 permanent members no empress sign no mu nyina obi use no veto powers
okay
yanko hwe no na fi yan train sensei na fi making kind near ma bibre okay you know video net also me nsano
video net also me nsano abodi ne ye the battle of veto powers at the UN Security Council since 1945 and no mama ye hesa video no.
Only 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, Russia, US, China, France and UK have veto power. Since 1945 so far as of March 2024, these countries used this right for 277 times. Russia has used its veto power 128 times. Mostly to block new applications on the issue of Ukraine and Middle East, in favor of India, in favor of Republic of Syria, in favor of Republic of Yemen, and in favor of Myanmar. The United States has used its veto power 85 times. Mostly in favor of South Africa, in favor of Israel, against Vietnam, against Republic of Syria, against Palestine, and against Lebanon. The UK has used its veto power 29 times. mostly to protect its own colonial interests such as Rhodesia and in 1956 during Suez Canal crisis, and in favor with US on many issues in the Middle East and other places. China has used its veto power 19 times. Against Mongolia, once against Bangladesh in 1972, against Taiwan, against North Macedonia, 2 times against Guatemala in 1997 and in 1999, and in favor of Syria and joined hands with Russia on many issues. France has used its veto power 16 times. In favor of Israel, in favor of US, and protecting its overseas French communities.
Usia Sabri will share Wake Up Africa Juma the Royal Television. So Victor Power no any achiche no send you be use no omo nipa enum no obi use yakaba omo dia mabomu a obi use no dia 277 times. Any achiche send obi ade a we use. Na ba bia eye mayi kakra a my catching my attention ya UK. Ya say UK dia na use ya ne obodin bi o say Suez Canal. Sadie we of a church mu ha na menim se mo kai Suez Canal a esan se mo kai Bible mu ebre a ye ka tie Joseph se onfa Yeshua enfi Israel na won sanembra Egypt ye se otena ponko no so na dwena no fa na yere ne abofra no e na mu sane fi Israel ba Egypt tinaga se eyede land enso ne okosa eho no mu na enya land biom of a catcher mo say of a ya gina fidie so of a church say eho ni nyina na ye Africa but only obi kasa na catcher ni say Israel sa area ni nyina na ye Africa o say on tiase da because na Egypt and Israel no just land working omutime de camel no e fa no moko enti dwumadie bi omudi ye no eno no mutu ni din Suez Canal omutwa sa asase na da between Egypt and Israel ho na eno na omo fa so omo de kono sa asase no omo sifi ho because na epo no eno omo pa omo de asa epo no ebetum wo ho ho ene ma sa Israel Iraq Iran sa area no etin hu fi Africa ho na ho nyina because tete ye ka Babylon eno na ye ene Iraq yeah ho nyina na ye Africa enti omo di sa adwuma no UK for Suez Canal ena omo ye sa adwuma no of a church sa de so kan ye nti ase ova pato me da se
yo Kofi enti 277 times veto powers obia di protecting interest enti no enko ma mi nya advantage there na masa
yes na of a UK for no omo yes Suez Canal no person omo twam no
and no interest bi ho because wo ko apam ni Egypt and a French diplomat bi an your friend Ferdinand Lesseps ono nya contract into 1859 to 1869 10 years end of the years our project and people we because now high risk labor costs in the manema bibribem then wachi and a cover say na British interest bi wo then yes hadia yeah babe claim ownership esikasem aho na kofo no ni veto powers no eba say you take a decision on the Suez Canal ko kan say there be men koye sadia
oya da say
e me pabeba ye be ka Suez Canal no ho sam ye koye ni
okay
ye be hu senia esitie ne de akaka ye and United Nations Security Council one veto powers niema we na raise issue and you say na Security Council reform and trust any amount bebre sorry say United Nations they here reforms America bi
Ghana
oh man na we hold their bagana Ghana empanyin for ma hu say keka na the family and sampe
okay
eno nam de ba bejina so
okay
e dia kan mase
yo
na de di kan no first picture for the day
no a daily graphic 21st September 1993 Democratic Security.
Democratize.
Okay. Democratized Security Council says Foreign Minister. Democratized Security Council says Foreign Minister. Okay. Yo. No, and I'm to some for my okay. Okay. And where a graphic. Democratized Security Council. Just say the Security Council and democratize, you know, you two are way back. Yeah, now you're changing no so be dikakana into be medibi. Okay, and then I can you. I say Africa has demanded 2 seats with all privileges attached to the permanent membership of the UN Security Council. Dr. Obeda Samoa, Minister of Foreign Affairs, has said. He said Ghana has therefore joined other African countries to express their support for efforts aimed at ensuring a more balanced composition of membership of the Security Council, which will be debated upon at the 48th section of the UN General Assembly in New York. In response to a questionnaire submitted to the Minister of Foreign Affairs on Ghana's position on calls for the democratization of the UN systems, the Dr. Asamoah said Ghana has attached great importance to Africa's position in the restructuring of the Security Council.
And did not train saying Ghana I call Fourth Republic. Civilian government about 1992. Sabrina Dr. Ubeda Samoa and the Foreign Affairs Minister.
Okay.
You call United Nations, you know. I say, that's a Security Council, they are moving here. Say, dear, any Mumian democratize it. Say, better about near 2 permanent members, no. Now Africa has come of age. I say, near 2 places, Security Council, also. Now, young family.
Okay.
You know, Nedia or Bekan. My judgment answer.
Okay.
The next picture.
The next picture, no, about in a daily graphic, 26 September 2024, yeah. 2 years here, Muni. President Akufo-Addo at UN General Assembly. President Akufo-Addo at UN General Assembly Security Council needs overhaul. Structure deficient in addressing global challenges. Yo, Yera Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo ena ekasei ane afamaki baby na obabi afamaki no ena ye kan no. I say President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has reiterated his call for an urgent overhaul of the United Nations Security Council, describing its current structure as outdated, unrepresentative and insufficient to address the global challenges of today's world. Speaking at the 79th section of the UN General Assembly in New York, the United States of America, the Ghanaian leader emphasized the need for inclusivity and fairness within the council, arguing that the existing framework was no longer fit for purpose. The structure of the UN Security Council reflects a world. Okay. Let me say. Okay. I'll say the structure of the UN Security Council reflects a world. Okay. A world that no longer exists. President Akufo-Addo stated, adding that its failure to act in times of crisis raises a difficult question. What is the purpose of the Security Council if it cannot intervene when the world needs it most?
Fantastic. Yanko third picture.
Third picture no over Abodia Edaso no Daily Graphic 26 September 2025. Yeah. After 80 years, UN must reset. President Mahama demands bigger voice for Africa. Hey. And when you kasa. Yo. And also see a Daily Graphic and a report here. I say after 80 years, UN must reset. President Mahama demands bigger voice for Africa. Okay, President John Dramani Mahama has issued a stern call for a fundamental reset of the United Nations, UN, and the global financial architecture, declaring that Africa's role in shaping the future global order will be huge and consequential. Addressing the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York yesterday, President Mahama stated that with projects indicating that over 25% of the world's population and a third of its youth would be Africa by 2050. The continent could no longer be sidelined in critical international decision making. Citing the fast-paced global transformation, he said the UN could not continue to run on the same structures and protocols that define its formative years. Okay.
Kofi na the entire me kan say me twen na ye mpanyimfo yi de obia bekan. So the tone of obia presentation no a almost begidi say the United Nations no ba say e de asumdwe na eba. Inside the asumdwe na eba de na Security Council no say na tie dia na say no Africa nko 54 countries and the continent of Africa. That's any voice anywhere. 54 votes any crying. And on any issue, not say one continent here the 54 votes and a bemudia. Not just say yama say yenya voice. This is their thinking. Young call mom the buy no so any of the buy, you need him the deba.
Any of the bayer.
Any of it bayer. And to wouldn't buy a bear and son yenya kwan ba be wudam. Na si aba be wuram na ya victorious. Na ya see a be rule for an indefinite time period there. Ye be ya check permanent positions na me hu. If it's a nyasum due na de buy. Ya wo other purpose in tia. Ye de e ba say ye de ba be.
Okay.
Enti almost the Ambekano. And you know, Africans, yeah, Kasana, yeah, Presi, na moon reform, when you say, question me, change, and me, Bizan say, I be a Kasano, I reckon, you bet in a superbo Mayana. If they say, Usha, and she say, yeah, and the United Nations not buy, yeah, be moon. I can't feel my own. Near Baby, global governance system. Yeah, Baby, era beer. Because being can be antichrist in Abba. What did they can be challenging? Freedom in the whole near manu. Echo. And Nadia, Bebama, Maccabi also can be. Democracy, no. Maybe Eba. Anunti no ekwan ka omo kan nyina no ade ba ko anka ombetim di aka no mebe mo kan obeko the next picture no so.
Okay, the next picture no here Ghanaian Times 9th November 1994, the new Mecca for arms merchants. The new Mecca for arms merchants. What just picture no for to some for my. Okay. Yo. Picture no na yede atoso no na o say the new mecca for arms merchants. Who ye can who be more you. Of I say yen kind. I say of a market baby or marking ye can also selling arms is big business. Despite the end of the Cold War, I say selling arms is big business. Despite the end of the Cold War, weapon sales are driven again. As northern governments cut their defense budgets, arms companies are promoting exports to developing countries. They see the Middle East and Asia as the most lucrative markets. The merchants of death, reports Gemini News Service, are cashing in on the insecurity of the New World Order. Okay. Yeba asia of a market baby, I see league in the air can I see the league table of top arms exporters reflects these changes. The United States is still at the top and possessing its archives in 1991. I say and positions it's achieved in 1991 as the largest arms exporting country, accounting for 46% of the global trade. It is followed by the European Community with 26% of all deliveries. Russia weighs in with 11% and China with 8%.
Company warrant yan kan say Security Council members no woman na ye etuo wo wiase. For no ejiro merchandise no am dey ba no e security risk. Enti no say sankofo ya woman na ye etuo yi. Woman na ti Security Council so a ebe na asumdue free baby awa.
And so for mo see you and no mo tin say o mo dey asumdue ba nso mo na mo ye.
Na ohunu no.
Offer yada ye ewurade nyankopon
enti empanyimfo bia no wo hunu kan say 5 permanent members no omo Security Council no wo na the leading arms producers enti wo hwa ha no mo a me ba to nsa
fa enyimfi so wada Roma fa etuo no to so ma o say top sellers no ene wo ho no o say US but I'm for picture into so my na ye can no ma hu ahwe picture na. Okay yo MCR say omo de beto so sesia amayen anti abusuafo ye pese mo hwe ade ni ye pa na ensem na ofa ebie so no ehu se nti na untimi sore keke na ye de wura fe be member enti mu de mo kaza no ane da no unifa so no etuo no na ya hyehyɛ no o say top sellers of etuo no yan hwɛ o say US 1, USSR, Russia 2, France 3, Germany 4, China 5, Anna Kwaku Britain so 6, and I top buyers omo to 20 pa
and how can say new maker yeah to
say omo hardware no pa
every one man
offer I say ne di kan ya India eh when no much percentage nyina o man hu we no say 54,968 we no so say that is US for Russia for a ton eto 45,182. Now France for 9,349. Now Germany 8,190. China 7,658. Now Britain 7,623. Bias no. Omo to etuo ni pa no. Yo, omo so omo de ni India. And the kind also no they are not 12,235. Ne about Japan 9,224. Ne about Saudi Arabia 8,690. Ne about Afghanistan 7,515. Ne about Greece 6,197. Ne about Turkey 6,167. Over Wenum
and the new Mecca,
okay.
Obeka no man.
Yo, I know see a Ghanaian Times. I know yeah. Of the world. Where Mid East biggest arms importer. Okay. Arms.
Ntidiana article no about new Mecca no. Na Middle East ho de to atu.
Atu ne pa. Yo.
Any over Middle East wa ho de e ka atu no so agu ba. Sika na ho ne nya no. Israel to na Iraq to na Hezbollah force for so to 23rd October 1998 Times and a report here. I say arms spending continues to sour in the Middle East despite a slump in oil prices amid growing concern about a regional ballistic missiles arms race. An authoritative study said on Thursday the military balance, an annual study of military spending and capabilities compiled by the International Institute for Strategic Studies IISS, said the Middle East remained by far the world's biggest arms importing region. Regional military expenditure increased by an estimated 5% in real terms in 1997 to 56 billion US dollars, amounting to between 7 and 8% of gross domestic product, significantly more than in any other region. Defense budgets in 1998 indicated further real increases despite declining oil revenues for many regional governments. It said the biggest spender remains Saudi Arabia, which spent 11 billion US dollars out of 18 billion defense budget last year on imported weaponry. Its imports rose from 9 billion US dollars in 1996, largely because of the delivery of combat aircraft. The United Arab Emirates, 11 billion US dollars order for 80 US F-16 this year was the biggest single export contract in the international arms trade since Saudi Arabia's purchase of US F-15s and British Tornadoes in 1992 and 1993. The report highlighted concern about Iran's July flight test of a medium-range ballistic missile, the Shihab, 3 based on North Korean Nodak 1 technology and designed to have a maximum range of just over 1,000 kilometers, 650 miles. That would give it the range to hit Israel as well as any target in neighboring Iraq. The IISS said Iran was also reported to be developing a longer range Shihab 4 missile. Despite positive internal political developments, Iran continues to raise security concerns with its missile and nuclear weapon programs. It said Iran denies US and Israeli charges that it is developing weapons of mass destruction, but confirmed the missile test. Concern about a Middle East missile race has also been fueled by North Korea's development of a 3-stage rocket tested on August 31st, which could be used for longer-range ballistic missiles with a range of over 2,000 kilometers. Okay. How far? Wow. Just a go for permanent members, you know. They deal in arms. One with a supply. It is a conflict area. Be the bar. There, Omuduma, Omunema, Omuton, and a concrete. Young next future. God, we are kind of 1994. 2023.
The next picture is the world's biggest arms exporters. The world's biggest arm exporters. But that's a picture I'm just for my. Okay. The world's biggest arms exporters. Share of global arms exports from 2019 to 2023 by country. United States, on the time you nobody can United States 41.7%, France 10.9%, Russia 10.5%, China 5.8%, Germany 5.6%, Italy 4.3%, United Kingdom 3.7%, Spain 2.7%, based on size, value of arms transfer, independent of purchase price. Source. You and that's why yes.
And the next picture
no about the Daily Graphic 29th April 2025 year. Global military expenditure tops $2.7 trillion US. Yerade sika na bonus ni nyina akodi aye tugu. Yo, that picture in the dasono. On the Daily Graphic Tuesday April 29, 2025. Global military expenditure tops $2.7 trillion US in 2024. I say Stockholm, Norway, April 28. World military expenditure reached 2.72 trillion US dollars in 2024, an increase of 9.4% from 2023 and the steepest year-on-year rises since at least the end of the Cold War, according to a report released by a leading conflict think tank yesterday.
And then we are who say permanent members, you know, of the leading suppliers of arms.
Of a who?
Engineer the army say they create the conflict areas.
Hey,
no creative we are. Your first video never no. I say Kobasa conflict we are baby and security council general assembly. Hey, over peacekeeping troops and go keep peace or
omo console for mo de atu na beko
entino akwa say wo ma koton ne ma no ye nya esika say na we ni we aka ene we akoye we entina akoda ni tite he general assembly muti o yeren mu hu say entokwa bi asati o baby over peacekeeping vonko ye de omo suko entina akwa say ye create a na mo ma akwa clear mess no nam the peace aba and also mo nkokwa e say etime mamo allowance bi a chese also beko senior member countries no a soldier for ni a police for also be hu say e ko ni akopata ntokwa enso kakrawa ye binya no e na we na aye vicious cycle since the United Nations ba ye no ye the hardware na ko creating ntokwa asemo aba General Assembly the countries ko nunti kurambo no e tete kurambo say ubenya peacekeeping no bi akwa is only mpanyimfo e fine
na no nko negotiate
na o kwa negotiate ne dia ma bi na mre bi anam 37 Switchback Road na ban line ne e ho de na chese area sheriff me ko ho nyina o ma ko peacekeeping no bi aba no omunya ba say 37 area ho no military area almost United Nations blue beret no mo arm UN troops and mo ya de jinchia I use wako peacekeeping aba
oyo ga
de jinchia and almost so dia di enya no entino e kwa ba sa no let us have there the critical conflict no ye security council by me transe e masumdwe mamre ko aye tuo na de ho ne beto ye de asumdwe ba na nema aye no so wan beto and you see create conflict
of a case we are seeing na
that's anya odia
ya dama ye nango
obi dia we are seeing so anya
emobu
anya na wo hwe
ya next picture no kese ensam no tin say ya abusia na haye huhuhu ya dance ya nangu abonti ye nim hwe ya no den de ya tra TV so a ya mpanyifo yi omo tra TV so a ene ensam akese brofo akese so ye nim hwe
enko baby ya
enko hwe over
next picture
no ya Daily Graphic 29th May 2014 UN Peacekeeping, a force for peace, a force for change, a force for the future. But what's happening? And that's over. UN Peacekeeping, a force for peace, a force for change, a force for the future. United Nations peacekeepers made up military, police, and civilian personnel from various countries, including Ghana, have been operating for the past 66 years following the establishment in May 1948 of the first UN peacekeeping mission known as UN Truce Supervision Organization to help bring stability in the Middle East. However, it was only in December 2002 that the UN General Assembly designated May 29th as the International Day of United Nations Peacekeepers of Ambacho.
No, what a force for the future, a force for peace. But they are constantly
a force for change. Next picture. No, abodini a Daily Graphic 27th November 2020, Ghana in United Nations Peacekeeping. Pacho sa picture mo fan to so emfa mayen. Of amaki baby eno na ye kind. Ghana in United Nations Peacekeeping. We are Daily Graphic 27th November 2020. I say incidentally, Ghana started her UN peacekeeping in August 1960 in DR Congo.
Sabrano Anna Patrice Lumumba onya issues with Boris Chombe ene Kasabubu ajina ehonmo there na Sabrana Ghana Chief of Staff no Broni
okay
Alexander enti Dr. Kwame Nkrumah also na ne pardon Lumumba enti na adwen ne say or the troops they koni akwa Lumumba na je say jani how no eswat now onim say troops no ko under the command of the United Nations and one Ghana troops they use to against Lumumba. This is the crisis. Men kasam ko echibi nti na de permanent members of the Security Council muton atuduro akoko dem ma na omuye ho adwuma
na fa ntokwa bombe de nya sa sika o sa e ka na ma bombe nya musika nti mu ye de bombe create ntokwa
sanity. And this is how the Security Council runs. And the empanyimfo anamo kan report memra ho no ayebia musumu ya akonde qualification here. Wow, we true that anya kwan ko president member. Nti so we true na the office asumdua. United Nations no, yamfa amase ye dey bepe asumdui.
Kwame Nkrumah dey atomic side by e ofa na ada ho abesi na ye ni
ehode men kan bi. Enti no ne tintin ni tietia. Abe na ye ba ni abehwe United Nations no dey ba de.
Okay.
Enti no me sum up and send yakọ your next level no dia the woman say United Nations the brainchild of the Council on Foreign Relations woman yema United Nations no ebabedi mu sania America obenya kwa Second World War no wa be the dominant power be lead a new world order or the baby as and one pepe na Council on Foreign Relations na team ye into one idea now America na be promote globalism, internationalism and interdependence na the kwa no eno na eba be ya ono ni prophetic role all be play senior obema wiase nyina I worship the mark of the beast antichrist in the United Nations is the home of the antichrist. You go Revelation 13.
So what you offer NABB near Manasono Sa na question
Revelation 13
or no
14 15
Revelation chapter 13 14 and 15 okay. Revelation chapter 13 verse 14 and 15 yeah 5 to 14 I say and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which have had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. 15 and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
And America said yeah, 2 beasts in Revelation. America wona ekwem dia obefaso a obeya beast ebesa be dominate wiase no obeye. Enti se sa na tie dia kofi yanka ye ho. Okay. Na yankon hwe last week okinkan bibi. Okay. Emra Nazi troops Hitler 1939 we invaded Poland Pope I can say be ma President Roosevelt eyi nano am fa de ama enso me de ma
okay
no wakai
okay
obeka free so free akra the concept of creation
and
the concept publicity
okay yo book okay book the good news and this United Nations
why
can't man's best effort bring peace? Okay sabukono ni page 5 paragraph 2 and a kind of page 5 or say the concept of the creation of the UN developed, or say the concept for the creation of the UN developed in the mind of US President Franklin Roosevelt and his State Department in the throes of global war, as they considered the failure of the earlier League of Nations, caused in large measure by the lack of American participation. Now, the United States would play a leading role. The motives were to establish a world of universal peace and human progress through a set of international activities and structures of a universal organization. This global body would be authorized to act on behalf of all legitimate national governments and guaranteed by the security pledges of the great powers. As the leading allied nations were called after the Nazi invasion of Poland in September 1939, which ignited World War II, Pope Pius XII proclaimed the need to establish a stable international organization after the war. President Roosevelt wrote to the Pope stating that although no single spiritual or civic leader on the international scene could create such structure, the time for that will surely come. Okay.
Indeed, the time for that has surely come.
He then told the Pope that America would encourage a closer association between those in every part of the world.
Fantastic.
Those in religion and those in government. Like I say, we will say religion, government, common purpose.
United Nations is the image of the beast. Every video.
The next video now, the United Nations, UN, is the image of the beast.
The image of the beast of Revelation 13:15, and you know, I am quite audacious because I'm just going to tell you straight up who it is. The United Nations is the image of the beast of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 15. And how can I say something so audacious as that? Well, again, I have to tell you, it's because the Bible tells us that. Oh, it doesn't have the name the United Nations, just like it doesn't name America by name, but it tells us all about it so that it is inescapable that these things and the United Nations fulfills completely, unless something else rises up in the next 35 years which fulfills the prophecy more completely. We have to go with the United Nations. We definitely have no choice, but the United Nations is the image of the beast. Now, the image of the beast is made by the second beast of Revelation chapter 13. And it says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast. Okay, this is the second beast that makes an image to the first beast. Okay, now it makes an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, now what was wounded by the sword? It was the head that was wounded by the sword. So the head represents the image. Okay, it's just like my head represents my whole body. When you see my face, you say, I'm looking at Nicholas. Although you may just see my face on the screen, but there's a body attached to it. Now in my case, I've always had the same head. In the case of the beast we're talking about, it has not always had the same head. It has morphed over the ages because this beast was unlike any other beast that came before it. It is the fourth beast of Daniel's image, a Mystery Babylon image of Daniel chapter 2, and it's mentioned as the fourth beast of the book of Daniel. And it said it was unlike any other beast that came before it, because it took on and swallowed and trampled in pieces everything that came before it, and it reigned and it ruled as it morphed from the Roman Empire into the Holy Roman Empire. First the Roman Republic, the Roman Empire, and then the Holy Roman Empire, which received the wound by the sword in 1798. So it's an image of the beast which had the wound by the sword and did live. Okay? And of course, the Vatican, that head that was wounded by the sword in 1798, was revived on the world political scene as a separate nation-state entity in 1929. That's why I have this picture here, right here, and you'll see here's the man that fills the seat of the head. The head really is the Vatican, and this is the man because it was given a mouth. See, here's a mouth. That means that a man is going to speak for it, speaking great things and blasphemies. I am the vicar of Christ. I am infallible. All of the things that are spoken of are fulfilled completely by the United Nations and its holy See. You ever wonder about that? Why do they call it the Holy See? Well, because they think that they are God. They're holy. They see everything. It's the Holy See mission to the United Nations, and the United Nations is the image of the beast. Let's get back to our text here. Okay. They make it, okay, and he tells them that dwell on the earth, saying to them that dwell on the earth. So this is this government, this second government, America, the second beast of Revelation, the earth beast, the second beast of Revelation chapter 13, that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast that had the wound by the sword that lived. So they're going to make an image to the Holy Roman Empire, that head. Yes, that tells you what's coming, what's developing as the one world mark monetary system comes to its fullness. And did live. And he had power to give life to the image of the beast. Is the United Nations alive? Yes. That the image of the beast should both speak. So how does a beast speak? It speaks through laws and cause. So force is going to be used by the United Nations. And what is the force of the United Nations? Well, the headquarters for the force of the United Nations is Washington, D.C. And if you read my article, the unholy trinity that rules the world, that's what it's all about. So we're going to finish up today with that. All of these topics are related and fit together like pieces of the prophetic puzzle. Okay? So, had power to give life to the image of the beast, and that power is money. And where did that money come from? The Federal Reserve. So we have the money power, we have the force here, the cause that is many, and that's going to take force, my friends. The force of arms. And where are they going to get that force of arms? Well, Washington, D.C., the headquarters, the military headquarters of the unholy trinity that rules the earth. And you know, a lot of people say that that America is Mystery Babylon, and it is in a way, because Mystery Babylon has a head, and Mystery Babylon is Daniel's chapter 2 image. It is the image of Daniel chapter 2. You look at that image and you could say it is Mystery Babylon, or it is the times of the Gentiles. Those are labels you could put under. You've seen depictions or pictures of that image, and that's the label. Jesus called it the times of the Gentiles. You know, that Jerusalem shall be trodden down until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. And we've talked about that in the past. Okay? So what does this beast do, this image do? Okay? Power to give life to the image of the beast. The beast is alive. That the image should both speak. It speaks by laws, so, and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Okay? So we know what's coming. You know, a lot of people look at, oh, there's no force, there's nothing behind the United Nations. Oh, isn't there? Who's running around the world, okay, right now, being the police power of the United Nations? The United Nations uses America to hide its police power, but yes, it is part of that unholy trinity. Washington, D.C. is the military power behind the image of the beast, being part of the unholy trinity, and causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So
Abusia o share Wake Up Africa dwumadi Royal Television so ahaya na obenya dwumadi ni sei na video no e break down mo ho revelation asem na kan ye no ni nchirechire mu kire se ampa sa dwumadi na e wo ho no Bible no amodin o. Bible prophecy wo we. Bible prophecies any onyame na dinfo na ombe ye kan yi. Omo modin o. Enu nti na ya atro na mo amode Jesus Christ ko se Bible nim say prophecy ne bo modin say obeba be ye bibi no. Omo modin. Eti Yesu aka se mi o se wunyuma dua no naba. Dua naba no. Ene edi be hu dua kro. Eye wunyuma sani a wo kasa sani a wo ye oniema no ene ebe hu sampa wo ena wa fit in. Ti America no ne nyuma di a odi e wasase so. Ni position a wa position ene sani ogina ene sani oye ne niema no eno ene ma ofiti ana ofofili sa prophecy no eti ono prophecy wo we either so Nyankopon di nipa ba ko na ebe e wo seto a e obi na ba be fulfill prophecy no ana a group of people ana a nipa ana tumi bi abeba na be fulfill sa prophecy no eno bi eti America sa prophecy na da ho no oni Vatican ena e fulfill sa prophecy no nti omo ye ka beast ene ni tumi ode maye America wanya tumi ene Ghana so obeziwa ono control ono no hwe se obi abedi Holy See ni mra no so enti Iraq for se omo so mo nya tuo UN Vatican mra no obi ya so obe ya sa nyema na amudei unisa na ahena na aya ka se menye America na di anim ona UN no ona odi anim military force no ona odi anim ti bibia na take it this enti ho na headquarters na we Washington DC enti America and therefore fulfill sa prophecy no over by to
we da say enti obi amfa ntuni tiri mu say United Nations and ebe hihye member countries no say we should worship the beast in its entirety. Na SDF tete no no bo ka bibi e na America na be hihye first na fi amama ya de achi oboa United Nations nti enda no a ye be kasa United Nations e benya global governance system by 2030 no ye mfa ya ni United Nations echi ko bi min kasa bebre because time we ati ayi nyina next picture no abodi adaso no eye the permanent observer, or say the permanent observer mission of the Holy See to the United Nations. But sa picture mfato so famaye. The chairman say Vatican and as a Holy See, only member of the UN or permanent observer status. The Kosovo UN biano ye man official briefing. Only what? As we are briefing.
Oba briefing no.
Oba so no biano. Africa say United Nations for peace. The home of the beast. Any fee any ho. Any dia.
Vatican.
Yeah, the next picture.
The next picture no. Abodi adasone here. The permanent observer mission of the Holy See to the United Nations. Part of page 2. And no more fantasy from my yenkai. Okay. Yo. The permanent observer mission of the Holy See to the United Nations. A book. Any cramino. Any cramming. To make kind of a market baby are make kind of a sassy haya. The last paragraph. Okay, I'll say the Holy See enjoys by its own choice the status of permanent observer at the United Nations rather than a full member. This is due primarily to the desire of the Holy See to maintain absolute neutrality in specific political problems. The representatives of the Holy See at the United Nations and most of its agencies are observers and participate in their prospective activities all the same. When the United Nations organizes world conferences on matters of universal interest, the invitation is sent to all states or state members of the United Nations and state members of UN agencies, and therefore also to the Holy See.
And the Bibin Koso UN Vatican only more
Buada.
Because
Holy See.
Holy See. Yeah, the next video.
The next video, no, the Holy See, permanent observer at the UN since 1964. Pacha wo me hear that video no.
Permanent observer at the UN since 1964. In 1964, the Holy See gained permanent observer status at the United Nations, acknowledging its global moral authority. John XXIII led the initial dialogues, and Paul VI solidified that voice in the General Assembly, championing resolutions on disarmament and development. At UN conferences, the Holy See defended refugees, fought poverty, and prioritized social justice. Vatican ambassadors mediated crises, brokered ceasefires, and oversaw humanitarian missions, reinforcing the Pope's reputation as Prince of Peace. It intervened with the World Food Programme, delivering aid to vulnerable populations. Today, the Holy See remains influential at climate conferences, COP, and in monitoring the 2030 agenda. Inspired by Rome's ideal of the common good, it endorses climate action targets, participates in gender equality debates at the CSW, and partnered with WHO on COVID-19 vaccination efforts. In 2021, it submitted UN reports on human rights, forced migrations, and humanitarian crises, linking ancient values to modern challenges. Additionally, it maintains missions to UNESCO and FAO, expanding cultural diplomacy and supporting education and food security projects. The Holy See leverages its centuries-old administrative expertise to shape multilateral policies, recalling the organizational spirit of the ancient Roman Empire. Eternal. In New York, the Holy See's Permanent Observer Mission addresses the UN, reiterating global peace values. Behind this global presence, a financial engine keeps everything.
I will see how share Wake Up Africa the Royal Television. So now, my video no Pope, Vatican, Holy See. Afi mahu ni tumi awo. Eti UN share. Onko obio on ehu hia because e ne dia. Eti mu koye mu meeting ni wi. I ti say general manager wa bie na dwuma. Ono mu koye de mba ye wi a. Ono amba be briefi no. Na afi ba bia ye say e kono no a kire mu say okay, mu fa we ntiwa, mu fa we nsa, mu fa we nfa ha. Ono no ye adwuma no. Eti wi ase no ono control. Eti ne ye fe ne Holy See. Ya kasa asem wi ha saa. Eno ana ofa ma wa ho no. Enti Vatican no ono the beast and a UN no adwuma ma no. Now unfortunately UN in the headquarters na copy America mem nti omu nui over battle we da say enti say ye bobi bia to fan dia no say Council on Foreign Relations o mo gba adwuma kese pa America sa proposals e dey buy ya o mo ko debate o San Francisco no dodo no a o mo na dey buy changes bi ebe mu ye kitwe ana aman nyina agitum nti America adwene ama ewiase ama ya je nhihye ni nyina atum ama enne no United Nations aba obi kan asem bi ye video bi just 30 something seconds was here any Council on Foreign Relations and United Nations any ho you hear the next video over eno ye UN shocking communist
origins.
UN's shocking communist origins. But that's how video
wouldn't exist without the Council on Foreign Relations having put together the plan, the globalists and the communists working together. Alger Hiss was the founding Secretary General at the founding conference in San Francisco. Alger Hiss, of course, was a communist agent, a Soviet agent. He was also a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, and he placed many other communists and CFR member globalists into the UN superstructure, and it's just been continuing like that. This is explained in more detail in my books, Global Tyranny, Step by Step, and the United Nations Exposed.
Ye call offer her, not offer to you so.
Enti ye to aso no aye di bibia ba wie no. Kofi wo ne ma bia ba kinkan.
Informative.
Na de che ni say ye hwe next picture. Na men kan sim bi.
Okay. Your next picture no here. Time October 23rd, 1995. the UN complex in Manhattan, the UN complex in Manhattan, built on the land donated by the Rockefellers.
Asasia, United Nations headquarters, Sisunukrano. Rockefellers na Dubai. Until we can United Nations, the
United book na daso no. Patomo fato so mfama yen. Book na daso no. Of a bie page bia ma.
Anya no e daso eno nko.
Okay.
But the picture na
na. Picture na yesi na so. Now of a bie book bia ma ye kan. Book no say the United Nations UN. The Council on Foreign Relations was largely responsible for establishing the United Nations. 10 of the 14 committee members belong to the CFR. There was no doubt this time that the United Nations would definitely include the US. To clinch it, the UN was housed in the US on land donated by John D. Rockefeller Jr. This was part of the conditioning of the American people, so they would be open to the new world order. With the UN on American soil and accepted by them as a good thing, the first part of the strategy was complete. The UN adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. The UN was a major achievement. The US was a major achievement in the CFR agenda, but it was clearly apparent that they could not implement a totally new world order in one step. It would take several. So they delegated aspects of the task to different groups. We will look at 3 of these groups in turn. The Bilderberg group or Bilderbergers. Firstly,
I don't count.
Okay. We offer. Okay.
Kofi, what kind enwa mai?
Okay.
And this a sign that here dia. Obe kind we say so.
Okay.
History of the United Nations. We kakreya.
The second
picture
the history of the United Nations. Pacho www.amazondiscoveries.org. Pacho mo fa ento so picture nto so mfa maye. Nene no fa abia maye ye kan no. The history of the United Nations. In 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt coined the term United Nations, the name first used to describe the 26 nations who pledged their governments to fight the Axis powers during World War II. But the idea of global government has been around since a lot earlier than the 20th century. Stephen P. Dagan, former director of the Council on Foreign Relations, explains, the idea of preserving unity among civilized men, of promoting universal allegiance to a common lawgiver and obedience to a common law, appealed powerfully to thoughtful men throughout the Dark and Middle Ages and has continued to affect mankind to the present day. The first recent attempt at creating a universal allegiance to a common lawgiver was the League of Nations, an organization established in 1919 after World War I to promote international cooperation and to achieve peace and security. Peace and security may seem like noble goals, but when we remember that the Jesuits have been working behind the scenes to bring the world under the authority of the papacy, the whole idea of universal allegiance comes less innocent. Okay.
Fantastic. And you are changing the all kind of the tour.
Okay.
But then can you jump to the video?
Okay.
Video no near the Bible cruise and
okay.
Issue nina. And you know, you have last video for the day.
Okay. The last video for the day, the United Nations, UN, a world government in the making. Pacho, that video no, mama yengoye.
What is the United Nations? Let's get it directly from them. This is on their actual website. The United Nations is an international organization founded in 1945. It is currently made up of 193 member states. The mission and work of the United Nations are guided by the purposes and principles contained in its founding charter. Okay, so the 193 nations of the world are all members of the United Nations. The whole world is a part of this organization. Let's talk about what they do. The UN maintains international peace and security, protect human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, promote sustainable development, and uphold international law. These powers are given to it by the UN Charter, which is considered an international treaty. As such, it is an instrument of international law, and UN member states are bound by it. It should be understood, this is the framework of a world government, but it has not fully stepped into its role. There are many different parts of the United Nations, and to explain it in full would require a much longer video. So let me just explain the main crux of what should be understood right now. That is the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm an American, and we are currently in election season where candidates are debating their platforms to become the new leader of the country. One reason why it's easy for me to understand the game that is being played is because I understand the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In 2015, all the nations of the world signed this agreement of goals that all nations of the world are working towards. When reviewing these goals and then reviewing the political agenda of the presidential candidates, it's easy to see that they are all moving within the constraints of the Sustainable Development Goals, but they just make it seem as if it's their thoughts or what the people are asking for. But they are just debating the agenda of the Sustainable Development Goals and advocating implementing them into law. This is why socialism is being presented more substantially than ever before. If you study and review the Sustainable Development Goals and then review the platforms of the Democratic candidates, you will see that none of their agenda is in opposition of these Sustainable Development Goals. And for the many people who are strong Donald Trump advocates and believe he is slowing down the New World Order, they also do not understand this complete agenda. Because while Donald Trump is said to be many things and against many things, one thing he is not against is the Sustainable Development Goals. He has pulled out of many agreements within the world, but he is still on board with the Sustainable Development Goals. And he also actively participates in this United Nations global governance structure. The point is that all of this is about a world government that has already manifested, but not fully come into full reality for the masses. And it will not happen until the old order is done away with. The next major crisis of this world will bring about a complete world government and its world leader.
The Royal Television so now video na ye hwe no wo say o study ade yie pa wo hwe ewiase ne yakoso no wo omama ye confused omama ye very confused now they are going so be confuse you esan say nti say na omo de ba no wo omo ye ma ne ye te say eye wo kra na wo hia na e ba nso ababwa wo nanso ni nyina mu no na nye eye omo tirimu po enye omo sise nti players na ye play no obi ho a wo hye na oye ni sade no kra aye no kwa no tia nanso the major ade na ye nyina so no de ohwe ma wo ntia da ebi ni Donald Trump example mo sete ye no ase wo hye o mo sise dido na o ye nyina no okutia because ono say America first or say way first nanso sustainable development goal na ye UN agenda no de on kasentia da on sorry ntia da engofo no o mo ye dangerous na no video na ye hwe no say enema na ma hye no o mo de confuse yen ena o mo de ama na ye ayete say ye na ehia sade no kwanti no say ye mom kwa mom de brayen obua ni nyina na ye say o ma hye ewiase nyina UN no ewiase nyina na hyem obi aka ho bi enti o ma agenda no o ye bi eno ti ay mete Ghana say aya Ghana gusu kun ayi LGBTQ Ghana ye kono ana on kan UN no ayo agenda o musika de ba na makoje we ba na makoje sustainable development goal mo pɛ security council mo pɛ membership na mo sign ayi LGBTQ no ya mo say mo sign e kan ho bi e ka agenda no ho bi ya say human right ya ka man say bi enti mo ye dem anya the parliamentarians on be di atom anya sa na so mo twe mo fi UN nim ansa na sa de no apaye ofa kobi da say
enti e free na ekọ no ye hwe United Nations yi if September 2024 omo ye emergency session bi e fe no summit for the future and omo koje pact bi ko tumu oba de am ya hoden a e bebo awura ho be free na ekọ die omo ye fe ni nko United Nations so aka mfie nan na one world government haba e ya hwe yi kofumi dase
over yes ya dase over say ye fa ye ndi UN achiye o ma ye mfie nan na world government no opew wo mpew na aba timi no mienu ya hwe yi kwan ye be fa so a ye betimi de ye ho ahihye mu ne de en de offer e de ama yen okay offer awie ne de na ye kɔ ye ne abusua no enchen na ye di nkomo ye di kan ye be di kan afa YouTube messages aba no na afi mo de line so atomo e de ama yen ye wo mere kakra na ye ne abusua no so de di nkomo we say good soul say akwaba animdefo ne akyerɛkyerɛfo nhyira a efiri otumfo onyankopɔn ho enka yen okay yo yɛda se sɛ woayɛ ne sama yen we at John Dako John Dako so na de we but shalom to you great leaders okay ni ode ba ye no we Emmanuel Okran now see that so the question is did leaders didn't know or say did okay didn't the leaders didn't know okay so I know what wrong yo obisa question Nana Kofi Africa must wake up okay also the other no where okay I will share hello didn't fa kwa afrefi hello didn't fa kwa afrefi yes you Peja onesto mayen. Okay. Okay, yada say. We say abusia me pacho ye twa ye ho aba ye ba na ya ba beto aso
ni wa mantia sai okroto wa mantia sai Amuna oba ye krumse oba betray yamesu eche no to nipa eche no dia sasa akwanu le akwanu mana dia sabi akwanu mana dia sabi akwanu how do I akwanu mana dia sabi akwanu mana dia sabi na me ye
ya monja de enko
battery no nti battery ya check na tem bia last minute
wait
battery change ndo follow answer na o hwe wo ye bia na
abusia bi wani guso a wo hwe Wake Up Africa Jumadi Royal Television so na yetwa so no na ye fa ye messages no o say we say Nana Kofi okay ono ya kan ne de na Apel Emmanuel say good afternoon wise men ni ode ba no Nana Kofi asande bia babiem or say all that we know is broke and Lucy's prayer. All that we know is broke and Lucy's prayers. Where Jai Yao Timothy. I am Timothy Jai, watching from Brekum. I say namasua o say you move and me. Okay, semenya ni ya. Okay. Hello, didn't fa kwa ofrefi. Good afternoon. Pacho yeti o. Okay. Mr. Albert yeti o. Yeah, that's it.
In fact, that's where Ghana was say why source of history, wisdom, any literature, culture in our country, say Ghana for program you will actually make the move until you never bought for Basso. Any media or especially you see United Nations, and the mystery people are dead. It is Ghana for politics. Not very short. Maybe not history. Then a wisdom. I say contracts so actually now boy.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Anyone do this hey, where they would do power. Things are heading under this continent. Of our Poku teaching has sad me today. We will be very vigilant on this Western imperialism and their hegemony. God bless this man. I know he is the end time Messiah from Akwesi Dua in Kumasi. Yo, Akwesi Dua Edene Diaba. Royal TV, well done. Also need the by on the Diamba. Hello, didn't for Aqua Frefi.
Okay, my friend Gadum Castle.
Okay, meet yet you.
We must move on over the Amagana. And no one can should be one kind of this. It's kind of poor now or more years oh my God. They don't put that because someone who's more could now yes, so can watch you go to work. It is not something yet. Yes, no more with them away away commercial break now why production coming royal TV and not do the pasta
yeah, that's it. Yate Royal TV or more bomb home day. Hello, didn't Fakwa Frefi? Okay. Matolan ya mo free. Me sremo me to me fa. Oh, Mother Roma. This is no doubt. I'll say there is no doubt about this program. I'm in Nsawam. I want to be a member. Teria Bracophodia, Black class Okofodia. Hello, didn't Fakwa Ofrefi. Hello, didn't Fakwa Ofrefi. Okay, we otiene ho. I say, can you please open a branch at Asing Fosu so that we can also be part of you with the aim of saving our brothers and sisters? Set from Asing in Suta. Set the Nidia Abba. Hello, didn't Fakwa Ofrefi?
Okay. Boss, really, I said,
New Abram, the same bang, obeting a back of Fredia, Anna. Mumbra of Fredia, what are Roma? Mumbra of Fredia. Me memo, Atinase, Wafa ne Abusia, Wafa Nyankwada, Abibi mine. Yeah, Bomo. I say, Otumfo. To me wa mo mayen sorry na yen mre yemrenie wo fa orebo adwuma piao so for mame swa so mame oba de nsira oba say odase yie pa. Hello dini fa kwa ofrefi. Hello dini fa kwa ofrefi. otie no ho ayasa na o twen obi time. I wasted 3 years studying UN as a topic in JSS without knowing their main aim is to undercover. I'm Philip Entry in Tejimaso. Okay, yo, Filippo. Greetings, great teachers. Hey, in fact, secret pioneer. Long life, great teachers. So the prophecy is from the Creator. Question ya obisa enono. And it's of a kind. I will say a prophecy. Now, if you are bad here. Hi, wise men. When will the beast come? I'm Maxwell from Sefi, the choir. Thank you. I say 4 years. Of our mouth 4 years. Now, with Gina Atiki, with Gina Peme, yes, some pap. Okay, yep, Slamo, sir, Ebiana was a misabi. Ebiana, Bibichira also, Opeobi, Nina de Hong Koma, Bisabisano, and Sembia. For a number way, I get 0244 686557. Open some bisabian nchiremu bi ewo dwumade na ye di no ho a me pa cha offer number we 0244 686557 obo sa number sa ma number ni mu a pa cha sem bisabi obetimi abisa ebia na ope ye ngoma a hu se ye yisu wa ha no ope bia eno so fresh number we eno ye 0244 888910 0244 888910 ana ye momo line no ane madaroma ye se kwancha de efe sika ane de ye wonsom ane nipa anu nti ane ye ba mo nchen se mo ana mbetimi aye se mo ana mbetimi adom yen ama fidie yi so yatena so kwese da bia nempo yatumi age emre ni bia kan anya kwese da bia nkwa o kwese da bia na memenda bia kwese da aye 12 premtobe awia dumienu, that is 12 to 2 hours. Now, me mendan so 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Na say Royal Television so enyasem keto akra. Enu nti momoye na monnom yen. Se be ya. Kwesiada ne me menda bia no fidie we so betimi atena so. Kwesiada ne de live, ye tena live. Na me menda ne de repeat. Na ye de amamo sa. Enu nti ye momo line no. Madaroma monnom yen. 0245 0701 64 0245 070164. Edino aye Joseph Kofi Ediko. Kofi dia ne important yeguso enti yebo monka ye se momamoden na munsa ne fipipo no so nsa wamfo bunsu ediko nyina momra na yensua de na moba adesua no enye fadiagro ane Mr. Anderson ane endra so o ma yetumi hia mu oba de nhia no nya okese papa panyimu sa so na ni abre se papa na obesua de ane eye ebia na se ho so pensam bia na frɛ 0206 519335 ebia na kofodua o pensam misa bi fa kofodua ho frɛ 0206 519335 0206 519335 Mr. Fofobi oba de nhia no nya ekese se wo de wa be so yasene wo di bi abetom mu ama yen yensaka enu nti yeshirawo ye kase oba de enye okese na ompegyawo medi ane Kofi Kumi dwumade me na metena mu di chiame many of our opoku danko a executive director ade mai ko efe Freedom Mind Movement ana nne ye di dwuma no oba de dum ye na so de yenkwa chen ya de sane ye besensia akra mu nyina